Hi, it's Mark from the Digging Deep podcast. Just a quick one before we get started. Over the past few weeks, we've had more than 15,000 views and listens across the podcast, which is brilliant. So first of all, thank you. But what we are seeing is that a lot of people are watching and listening and not subscribing. So if you are enjoying the podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you could take a moment to subscribe, whether that's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. It makes a big difference and helps us keep growing, bringing in great guests and improving the show each week. Also, give us a follow on social to keep up with everything we've got going on. Right, let's get on with this week's episode.
Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. How are you? All right?
Yeah, enjoying the weather?
Oh, mate, it's been too hot, hasn't it? Yeah. Last couple of days, I've struggled, actually.
Yeah, it's been bad, isn't it?
I sat around yesterday. I couldn't do nothing. I sat around yesterday. I was watching the TV, and if it's actually possible to be too hot to watch TV, I thought I can't watch TV. So then I've gone up. I weren't even hungry. It was too hot to get something to eat. It was too hot to do the ironing. I did put some wash loads on, but found it was too hot to do that. It was unbelievable. And this will make you laugh. We got a hosepipe ban again here. I don't know if you remember one of the pods a couple of months ago. We only just got off the hosepipe ban in February, but we're back on again. Southeast water.
Yeah, there's no water, is there?
That's what they're saying. Yeah, but there's a lot of houses going up though. That seems to consume a lot of water, doesn't it?
True. Right, well, welcome back to another episode of our glorious Digging Deep. No Charlie again. Don't know where he's gone. Must have gone on holiday and not come back.
I think he's gone AWOL, mate. He's done one of them things where they just decide they like where they are, get the backpack packs and go AWOL.
So today I thought we'd discuss a challenge that every contractor, plant or company and equipment manufacturer is facing. Asset obsolescence, if I can say that properly. But before we get into that and what that actually means, what's been doing your head in this week?
Do you know what's done my head in this week? Right, I'm just going to tell you what it is first. Right, I had to go and have my alloy wheel welded. And I thought I had a slow puncher. So I've pulled into the puncher place and the guy said, I can't help you, mate. And I'm thinking, oh no, is it all slashed up? Is there a big, you know what I mean? Is it on the sidewall? They always give you that one, don't they? Can't repair that, mate. And he spun the wheel round and he showed me, and he goes, look, and I've got this hairline crack going down the wheel. I said, what's that? He went, that's a crack in your wheel. He said, I ain't gonna lie to you, mate. I see 2 a day with the state of the wheel, with the state of the roads. I'm like, what am I going to do with that? And he goes, you need to go and have that welded. So that was a whole new experience for me. I had to Google up someone. I found someone in Maidstone that welded it up for 70 quid. But that was a whole new experience. And then it got me thinking, are the wheels on the car too weak? Or are the roads that bad? Because I don't actually remember. If I was driving it and if I felt a thump, wallop, I'd think that was me, right? But I haven't felt anything, not unusual anyway. So I don't know, the wheel's too weak or the road's too bad, or both?
Yeah, it could be the wheels well, it depends, doesn't it? I mean, it's hot as well. Yeah, so you might be a curb. Could have been. You do seem to have a lot of problems with your car, didn't you? You know, the aircon that time and this don't work. I think it might be something to do with the common denominator. That's maybe you.
Yeah, but these are random things that I can't do. I can't break the aircon, can I? It was on auto. You know what I mean? I think I get some cars and it's like an omen. I'm actually going to rename my car Damien.
So how's that done your head in? I don't get it.
Well, it's done my head in because I thought I had a puncture, right? I was at the puncture repair place, 8 o'clock. And then I can't do any work. I'm Googling alloy repair welding people that can repair it the same day. So it's done my head in because it's a whole new experience. I've had services, I've had recoveries, breakdowns, I've had all sorts of things that with a car. It's the first time I've had to go and have an alloy wheel welded. Like, what is that?
It's not what's been doing my head in. I mean, that's just, you know, I've got real stress in my life. You know,
like what?
Well, it's the World Cup now, as everyone knows. England are scraping through. But what's been doing my head in? Maybe I'm an old traditionalist, is 2 things in the World Cup. So we'll probably lose all the women in construction listeners that we have. But women referees, I'm not getting it. And I'll tell you the reason why. I'm against women referees, right? And the hydration break. So there's 2 things that do my head in. It's pissing down with rain. You're halfway through the game. You're on top of the opposition, and then they blow for a hydration break. And it's that bullshit that they're calling it a hydration break, when it's really just a scam, because they're obviously showing adverts on other parts of the world, aren't they? Especially the Americans. It's
The Americans love
Americanism to
that.
make it into a quarter, like they do with American football, basketball, all that shite. You know, where as soon as they can get an opportunity, they'll get an advert in. That's been doing my head in the most. You know, and it's stopping the flow of the game. There's no need for it. People are coaching now on the sidelines. It's like a timeout, isn't it? It's like a basketball game, and that's not what I signed up for in my years of watching football. And the other thing is, I thought the World Cup was all about having the best teams there. I don't know if I'm against or not the way they brought it into 48 teams or whatever. But there's been a few shockers, isn't there, where people have had a good spanking. But then the other side, you've got where people have had the opportunity to play in a World Cup and they probably wouldn't have done. But the whole point of the rankings of the referees was that certain referees have trained all their life. They get the opportunity to be a FIFA ref, and then they go to the World Cup, and then the ultimate is to manage, referee the final, wasn't it? That's the ultimate thing. But now you've got women refereeing the ref. Now they've got no official rankings in the men's game. So where does that come from?
Oh, I see what you mean. So your they're not ranked.
If they were reffing in, I don't know, in the Premiership or European Championships or something like that, then it would be a different argument. If all the referees were put together and you had a mixture of women and men doing all the games, women and men's football, but you haven't. You haven't got no women refereeing Premiership games. Why did they get the rankings to be able to do some of the top games that were going on?
I guess they're trying to do their fairness and inclusion thing, aren't they?
Fairness and inclusion is about. I mean, imagine if you was a referee and you'd done all your life being a referee, and you're in one of those. You give up most of your life. You're now refereeing Premiership games, European Cup, Championship games, and then all of a sudden it comes for the World Cup, and you're going, well, I've got my FIFA badge. I'm there. I'm FIFA ranked as a referee. Oh, but you can't go because you've worked all your life for it, because there's someone that we want to, because of inclusion and fairness. What a load of bullshit. Sorry.
Yeah, I see what you mean there. Yeah, there's some guy he's missed out on his opportunity, and he's done all the right things. I see what you're saying. He's done all the right things to get there.
And we just got so woke, and nobody wants to talk about these things. Well, I'll talk about it, So,
I know you will.
if we lose one of our, women's subscribers, it's nothing to do with women, though, is it? You know what I'm trying to say. It's nothing to do with that.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. It could be the other way around. It could be if it was the other way around, women that are FIFA ranks that have worked their way up, and she's about to.
And she don't get the final because the man is deemed to be. Oh, we'll bring him in because he's the best referee in the world. So the woman don't get to do the women's final.
It works both ways, doesn't it? Yeah.
It's just rubbish. It's just a wokeness with FIFA, and this shows you how much out of touch they are. But look, England are doing okay. I think when we're recording this, England have just qualified top of the group. Even though I don't think we know what team to play. I don't think he knows yet what's the best team. But sometimes that happens and I don't think we look anywhere near as good as some of the other.
Well, I was surprised to learn. I was surprised to learn yesterday we were ranked number 4 in the world, aren't we? Right, but then when you watched us play Panama last night,
we were number 44.
Yeah, certainly the first half. I thought, bearing in mind they're the bottom of the group, so we're playing a team that's the bottom of the group, right? We've already played Croatia, we've already played Ghana, we're playing Panama, and it looked, to be honest with you, for a few moments here, it looked like we could lose this game. That's how it looked in the first half. I thought, oh my God. Like, we had possession, we had good in terms of possession of ball. We had some great stats there, but it's not about that, is it? You don't qualify on your possession. We need goals.
Absolutely. Still, we got through.
Our possession was like 80% in the Ghana game, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's a bit frustrating. I think we over-expect though, don't we? We do over-expect single fans. But anyway, look, asset obsolescence. And we're not talking about equipment wearing out here, but equipment becoming outdated long before it reaches the end of its working life. And we're seeing that more and more now. There's a lot more people talking about it. You go to like Hillhead the other week and Plant Works every other year, and you're always seeing a new machine coming out with different, you know, different innovations, which is great. But machines are lasting longer than ever mechanically, yet technology is making them old much faster. So you're in a catch-22 where you've got a machine that's, I don't know, can last 10 years if you really wanted it to, but the tech around it is well outdated by the time. So could you hire it? That's the thing you've got to look at. We're seeing emissions legislation, electrification, autonomous systems, AI, software subscriptions now, which is amazing. You know, pay as you go, telematics, which tell me sometimes, you know, we've had our arguments about telematics. I like the telematics for breakdowns and bits and pieces like that. But how many hours it's done, and how many KPIs, and how many times the guy swirled it around, and has he gone 2 mile an hour, 4 mile an hour? And I don't get what you get out of that. Remote diagnostics is changing the value of construction equipment almost every year. The better the systems they put on there, they're selling you the machine, and they're justifying the fact that it's now 125 grand for a 20-ton excavator type of thing. So today we'll ask, you know, are we buying machines or are we buying computers with hydraulics attached now? What do you think? What do you reckon?
Well, look, it's a real tough one, and it's a real interesting subject actually. This one, and I got a few stats just to frame what you said there. And I'm going to try and start some of these stats with a "Did you know?" Piece now. So I'll just throw this out there as well. Did you know the average excavator spends around 30% of its engine hours idling? Now I'll give you some stats to frame what you've said there. Average excavator life, 10,000 to 20,000 operating hours. Many machines remain productive, mechanically productive, for actually 15 to 20 years now. Technology cycles change every 3 to 5 years. This is hard to keep up with. Residual values increasingly depend on the technology now rather than the engine condition. So the way we value a machine's changing. Modern excavators can contain 30 to 100 plus electronic control units, ECUs. Yeah. Do
you think it's interesting? One of the things you said there was technology cycles now change every 3 to 5 years. Do you think that's interestingly come in line with the UK rental cycle, where most rental companies will turn their machines around between 3 and 5 years? And it seems like manufacturers have just caught into that. Well, if we update the mechanical, or the technology within the machine, then not only will the UK, who are already in that pattern, but perhaps the rest of Europe and the rest of the world will come along with the UK and start turning their machines around quicker. And what's really interesting about that, which I'm finding, it just popped into my head, is that we're such a small market, but big market, if you get me. Globally, we're a small market, but European-wise, we're big in excavators compared to the rest of Europe. However, imagine if the rest of the world and Europe were starting to turn their machines over in 3 to 5 years. We would be quite a small market. I think our machine prices would go up, and I don't think we'd have. I think maybe 1 or 2 European countries would probably benefit as more and more manufacturers pulled away from the UK. But people don't see it that way, do they? But that's what it looked like to me. So let's ask, what's actually is asset obsolescence? When people hear obsolete, they think it's broken, but it's a completely different argument. What I'm trying to talk about here, a perfectly working excavator can suddenly become undesirable because it no longer meets legislation. Now, we've seen that, me and you, over the years with stage 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. let's define what asset obsolescence really means. Is it mechanical life versus technological life? What would we rather have? We're saying that it's now out of customer expectations now what it should be doing. Is that true or not? I don't know. Why software matters now. That's what we should probably look at today, Mark. Why customers ask for specific technology. Emissions compliance, which we're always talking about, and we seem to be the only country that really brings it in. Now you've got your tender requirements. I think we touched this on before, where procurement guys are expectation of the quality of the machine. It's got to be under. I've talked to people where certain highways machinery now has to be under 2 years old, and then the safety systems that go with that. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean, look, this part of my "Did you know" segment here. Many tenders now specify stage 5 machines, meaning perfectly serviceable equipment can become commercially obsolete. And this is the problem. What do you do with these assets? You have to then sell them because the customers don't want them. A friend of mine's in the generator industry, and he's got this exact problem. They're now specifying they want stage 5. He's got banks and banks of stage 4 equipment, perfectly working generators, that they've now got to move on. They've now got to sell. But from a commercial point of view, they haven't finished their life as a hireable item.
But what sell and where as well? Because a lot of the African nations now that was our outlet, they won't take stage 5, will they?
No, and JCB were really clever, because I remember JCB telling me that this is a couple of years ago, that there's some of their new stage equipment that with a few tweaks they could reverse it. It could be a stage 3, stage 2. Then it's worth something. You're right. Then it's worth something in Africa, but all the while it's stage 5. It's not. And he was explaining to me that because we're so strict over here in how we store and how we handle petrol, diesel, fuels, and they're not over there, they've got a real issue with contaminants. Now, the higher up the stage you go, the more of an issue contaminants become. So a stage 5 can't deal with contaminants as well as, say, stage 4 or stage 3, and yeah. So where they're basically filling up with drums and containers, the residue that was in those containers is contaminating the fuel, then shutting the machine down. Whereas in the old days, carburetors and diesel engines used to just go in and all get burnt.
I wonder who's driving this, because I don't think the people that drive it in the main contractors, when they're going to tender, actually understand the impact to the whole of the industry, do they? And I think it's so disjointed still, how people just don't realise the impact it has, where you're squeezing your supply chain. So many people, only so many companies can afford to keep up with their technology, and then you're asking them to technically rebuild or unbuild the machine to be able to outlet it to certain parts around the world that can accept that equipment. It's just beyond me how disjointed it is still after all the years. But let's ask ourselves, why do we think this is happening faster? 20 years ago, the new excavator might stay current for 10 years. Today, manufacturers release updates almost every year. So what's driving this acceleration? What do you think? Is it environmental legislation, digitalisation? I don't know. Connected equipment, that's a new one, isn't it? Everyone connects. Fleet utilisation software. I mean, get off the thing. And AI assistance maintenance. I don't know. What do we think about that?
I think it's being driven ultimately by the government, because they're applying pressure to the contractors to basically report on their carbon. So it's an easy win, isn't it? If you then go to your supply chain and say, right, that's it. I want all stage 5s. I want hydrogen. I want electric. So the pressure works downward. But one of the things I've seen, and you'll agree with this, Mark, is the pressure's coming down from the top, the government, yeah. But the poor manufacturers are running around like headless chickens, trying to create these things. They're trying to create hydrogen excavators as fast as possible. They're trying to get electric excavators and get big. You know, we started off with 1.9s, then 2.5s. You know, so they're trying to. You know, now we've got Sany 20 tonners. So the next thing is there'll be an electric 25 tonner and so forth. So I think
Well, it's about seeing the value of that, the residual value of that. It's going to be interesting because I think we had Hillhead last week, and so 2 years ago, Hillhead, I don't you remember, there was a big push where Lugong had Flannery's had a Lugong electric, was it a 20 tonner on show, or it could have been a 25 or whatever. There's some big electric machines out there. I think Sany had some. They got their blue range, which is, you know, all electric. It'll be interesting. These are the next 2 years, aren't they? Where you can really see those machines in theory, how the industry is going to go. Is it going to go traditionally like it did on ours? Like, are we going to sell our machines still within 3 to 5 years, or are we going to keep them longer because they're electric? That's an interesting fact, because or something to look at for people listening, or for us especially, to keep a trend on it. Sorry, I've got a bit of an ambulance going by me.
I can hear that. Well, I've got some stats. I've got some stats to do with the other drivers, because obviously I mentioned the government there. The other driver, I think, is the client looking for. So this is more towards the software and the technology you mentioned. I think clients are looking for software and technology to solve problems and increase efficiency. So if we look at some of the tech that the clients are pushing for now, GPS machine control can improve productivity by 20 to 40%. That's a big difference. Fuel accounts for 20 to 40% of your operating cost. So, of course, that's why people will be pushing for stage 5s as well. Predictive maintenance can reduce downtime by 20 to 50%. And as we mentioned earlier, idle time commonly reaches 25 to 40% of an engine's hours. So some of the drivers that people are requesting now are GPS machine control, 3D machine guidance, fleet telematics, predictive maintenance, remote software updates rather than engineer coming out, onboard camera systems, and here's an interesting one. It's probably derived from AI. Operator assistance. That's what they reckon's coming soon.
Well, this is what I was going to go on to, Mark. This is the reason why, you know, I said when we talk about now residuals, you know, it's the rental industry challenge here is when we're talking about these electric machines coming in. Let's just stick to electric now, because I think this could be a full, complete. I don't know what the word to use is, but it's a real swing the other way. Now, traditionally, you understood that contractors felt that maybe plant hire companies and smaller contractors perhaps didn't maintain the machine as well as it should, and they didn't want a diesel guzzler sitting on the side of the motorway or on their job like 5 or 6 years old. But now we're taking that away, haven't we? There is no diesel guzzling. So does this mean that machinery OEMs are going to be selling less machinery into the UK market, because technically we should be able to hold them on a lot longer? So, you know, rental companies have always depended upon strong residual values. That's what's driven rental, hasn't it? They buy correctly, they maintain properly, and they sell well. So that was always the model. But when buyers don't want yesterday's technology, that's going to drive that down. So therefore, would you sell it? That's my point. You know, the timing of your replacement is going to be different, isn't it? So this big market of OEMs selling in to the UK market is completely different. Gonna be. And I don't think they've understood that. The bigger they push for electric machinery to come into the UK market, the more likely you are to keep that machinery longer. Now, the trend has already started in that, because when you look at electric scissor lifts, they've been well accepted. But you know yourself, with an access platform, you would keep that a lot longer than you would than traditionally than an excavator. And now I know that's to do with hours, but it's also not. It's also to do with the lack of diesel maintenance and that you have to do. So would you depreciate that product then differently? You know, you don't know what it's going to be worth at the end of it. So would you take a chance, or are you just going to keep it on? Now, if I bought something for, you know, one of them electric excavators, let's say they're a little bit more. They're now 150 grand for a 20-ton excavator. You know, after 5 years, am I going to get 30%, or after 3 years, am I going to get 50%? If I'm not, I'm going to keep it, am I? Is it going to change the whole structure of rental strategy and how we keep and turn our machines over, do you think?
Yeah, I think it is, Mark. I mean, look, you know, residual value has become as important as purchase price now. Just a few stats on that. Major rental fleets replace assets every 3 to 7 years. At our disposal typically occurs between 6 and 10,000 hours. Smaller contractors retain machines for 10 to 20 years. They just haven't got the money to keep buying new, have they? Residual values can represent 30 to 50% of ownership cost. So large fleets replace every 3 to 7 years. That's what you're talking about, isn't it? That's going to come right down, isn't it? It's not. There's no way you're going to replace every 7 years, is it? It's because we just said the cycles are at the moment 3 to 5, and I think they're going to get quicker. New tech, new stuff coming out, and the OEMs, they're going to want you to buy every year, aren't they? That's the whole point.
Well, I remember buying that electric 6-metre telehandler when it first came out, and a few people have jumped on it doesn't matter the manufacturer, but you were talking about 70 grand compared to like 40 grand, and you might have been getting more on the rental. I've got no idea how much it's going to be, because how much are those batteries to replace? And they last 4 or 5 years. So after 5 years, you wanted to sell your piece of equipment, which 5 years is probably a standard you sell the telehandler. You've either got to buy a whole set of new batteries, or someone's going to knock the arse out of the value of it, aren't they? Because they know they've got to replace them batteries.
Yeah, they're going to say to you, if you replace the batteries, and you're going to say, no, I think they're fine. And they're going to say, nah, I'm taking the price of the batteries off what I'm offering you.
It's something I think we should look at deeper. I think we should get some more stats on this, you know, because and follow it up in a few months' time, because I feel that there's a piece of work there of how there could be a significant change. And the reason I'm going over and over it, because it could be the biggest change in construction rental that we've known, because we've laughed and joked about AI, not laughed and joked, but we've discussed it heavily how AI is going to affect people's working environments. Is it or isn't it? We had that debate, but I don't think anyone's actually spoke about this at length, of the more electric machines and the more Chinese manufacturers, by the way, get embedded into the UK construction equipment market, the more electric machines will be there, because they're full on electric in China. That's what they want, you know, because as I said before, they pay 6 cents a kilowatt compared to our 60 cents, you know, or more, nearly 70 cents a kilowatt in the UK. So you think, well, no wonder their biggest market is their home market, so they're going to produce a lot more electric machines. And I noticed with certain OEMs coming in, like XCMG, Sany to some extent, although they've been established a little bit, but others, Zoomline and Luogong, they've made, for example, electric telehandlers before they brought diesel ones to the market, which tells you that their market is electric, and they're only bringing diesel over now because there's been a pushback perhaps in the last few years from the UK. But look, we'll probably go over that another time. I think it's worth everyone staying tuned for that, because I think we'll have an episode just on that in a few months' time when we get some good data. But moving through, you know, we're looking at different ways of obsolescence. You know, the OEM's control versus the rental ownership is always one to look at. One issue becoming increasingly controversial is who actually owns the machine data. You bought the machine, and I think this is people who don't understand equipment as well as we do. They probably don't understand that. If you're a motorbike fan, you might do. Harley Davidson's a kit bike, isn't it? You buy the Harley Davidson and you add what you want onto it. An excavator's been similar in the last 10 years, where you'd buy your excavator raw and then you'd fit your own 360 camera, your own slew, your own machine control on that. And now that's coming as a standard, isn't it? So all these subsidiary kind of in the supply chain, they're going to the wayside, because Komatsu now have got their own machine control. They've got their own 360 cameras already tied up. They've got this and that. So it now comes down to that data analysis and that data capture that all these machines in, and who actually owns that data, that machine data. You bought a machine, but the manufacturer often owns access to the software. Is that acceptable? So I now have to buy into JCB's LiveLink or something else like that, and as soon as I stop paying, I haven't got that data. Now, I need that data, don't I? Isn't that my data? I bought the machine, but the manufacturer owns the access, I've just said, to the software. So, who's got the right to repair? Lock diagnosis. If you don't pay on the go, you don't get access. It just seems wrong to me. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of some other kind of stats in other industries. If you use your phone, does Apple get the stats? Well, we get the stats, don't we? How much your screen time is, how long you spent on Facebook, but does Apple? I'm assuming Apple gets those stats as well. But really,
but is that because you've paid for it every month? I don't know.
I don't know, but you're right. Because I do appreciate that from a software point of view. Whenever you've got data, you need a database. So somebody is having to pay for an online database to store that information, and then of course you then say, oh, I want access to it. So, but yeah, I believe that if you're a consistent buyer, like a plant hire company would be constantly made. If you just buy one, let's say I buy one JCB, I get that I might have to pay for some access. But if I'm a consistent purchaser, like I buy a couple of million a year every year and so forth, really the access should be there for you to see that data. It should be there, because how long is it going to be before data becomes a standard anyway? People are asking for it now. I mean, look, construction equipment is rapidly becoming software-defined equipment. We know this. Remote diagnostics are now standard on premium brands. Over-the-air software updates are becoming commonplace. And as you said, Mark, subscription-based machine functionality is increasing. Connected machines generate thousands of data points daily, and the customers love that. I mean, there's two sides to data, and this is where you have to be careful. A lot of people ask for data. I want all this data. I want to know this. I want to know that. I want to know the other. The reality is, when you get that data, who's going to look at it and act on it and assess it? Otherwise, it's just wasted. It's wasted data.
Yeah, well, because there's no stage two, is there? So you've got the stage one. So you had that. So everyone wanted you to get every diagnostics. I think, without giving someone a plug, but I think it was Machine Max, isn't it called, or something? Where all the data feeds into their one dashboard. So they get a JCB, they get a Komatsu, they get a CAT, and it can all come in one, and it can say, that's how much it's been used for that time, this long, that's ticked over, that's idled this and idled that. But surely there's another stage to that, isn't it? That's not doing. That's just giving you a dashboard. And as you just said there, it's just giving the guy on the site a load of information. But what's he doing with that information? Is he using that to retrain the guy to stop idling as often as he does? Or is he looking at his program? I bet he ain't.
And this is the thing that you often find, for example, the site managers have got so much going on that if the sustainability manager from a company just emailed the report over and said, here's your report, how do you... And this is, you're right, Mark, what the dashboard does, it gives you the data, but that's no good on its own. What you need is the interpretation of that data. What you need the dashboard to say is not just that you've done 20 hours idling, is that maybe have a green, amber, and red statistic. Oh, you're in the red this week. You was amber last week, so idling's gone up. Or you're burning more diesel this week with less machines. You're in the red, but you was in the green last week. You're like what you need is actual tangible figures. It's almost like, if you had a car and you didn't have a speedo, and I just said to you, "Oh, that was good, Mark. You done 100 miles. I think you got here quickly. Did you or didn't you?" Right, but
isn't it just a fluffness? Because I remember going back. So let me go right back. I don't know what year that was, but let's say junction 6 to 10, M1 redoing for Luton Airport. Yeah. So we was on there. This was when we were talking way back. So it was BCL. So BCL was on there. We'd just come off the widening of the M25 junction 12 to 15. So this was the next stage. I think it was another JV with Balfour BEs and everyone. And the people from Balfour's, I remember it was Balfour, not pulling out Balfour's particularly, but they were talking about diagnostics now. They were talking about machine utilisation. They were trying to show the fuel usage and stuff like that. So we had some early reports that we were manually doing. Actually, we were dragging down, putting it into a spreadsheet. Someone was manipulating the spreadsheet, making it look good and sending it off to the guy, yeah? So it was all over, because we also had machines, different types. We didn't just have Komatsu, we had a few other different types of machines. And you think, well, one of the questions came up, and this is how stupid it is, well, how do we make our figures look better? Well, you've got 10 machines using 1,000 litres of fuel, and they're doing, say, 1,000 hours of idling time, let's say, for the maths. Well, if you just off-hire one machine, then your stats are going to look better, aren't they? Perhaps. And I think there was no real science behind, well, no one's actually training these guys to do anything different. And that's still, we go fast forward all those years later, and we've got the technology to drag it all down and put it into a lovely dashboard and someone to look at it, but we still haven't changed the way that we're working.
No, and that's the thing. It's you got three sides, haven't you? The first side, there's the data. The second side, what does the data mean? The third side and the final stage, using what the data means, how do we change what we do to save money or time? It depends and that's the thing. It depends what the client's outcome is. So are you looking to save time? Are you looking to save money? Are you looking to save both? Do you see what I mean? So the data means different things for different people. And that's where I think really the industry needs a lot of training and educating in terms of not just here's your data, but what does it mean and what can I do with it to change things?
Well, it's got to be training, isn't it? Surely. Train a guy, why is he idling? What can he do instead? Because, yeah, he sat there, his machine's on, because somebody's probably looking at him and thinking, well, why is he not working? Because the program's not allowed him to work.
I do know, and this is actually I do know of one client who did analyse the data, and they did look at it, right? So check this out. I'll tell you what it said. They had a load of data that showed that during the course of the day, the 20-ton dump trucks kept idling during the day. Not for long periods, but they were idling for kind of like 10 minutes at a time, but regularly through the day, right? When they went to site, so the sustainability managers noticed all this idling, but rather than just say, dear site manager, stop the idling, thanks very much, there was actually a reason for it. The site manager looked into it, and he found out that they had a haul road, yeah? And the dump trucks were running material from one place to another. But the haul road, to save time and money, had been built as one lane with a passing place at halfway, right? So the dump truck would come up, he would have to pull into the passing place, sit there, wait for the one to cut, otherwise they're going to meet, wait for the one to come on the run down, then he could go. Then, of course, he had the similar thing. He could come down, possibly have to passing place again, and so forth. What they'd done using that data is they doubled the width of the haul road, so they had an up and they had a down, they've done away with the passing places, and it cut idling by about 95% because they didn't need to stop. So it just
It
because
cost them an extra fucking 300 grand to build the road.
maybe, maybe, but
Fuck it.
but again, like you said, you've got to weigh up the science. You've got to weigh up why they're idling. They're not idling. They're not idling because they're sitting in the cab because the vibration gives you a back massage. They might be idling for a reason, and that was the reason. Do you see what I mean? So you got to look at the science of why they're idling, then perhaps the cost of implication to stop the idling, i.e., build another road, or not.
No, fair play. Well, look, let's move on. Let's look ahead then. What we're talking about. Let's give ourselves, 5 years. Let's fast forward to whatever it is, 2031. What does the construction fleet look like then? Will diesel still dominate? Because we've, I keep on looking at this hydrogen thing, and JCB doing their best to make out. And there was even a Netflix documentary on hydrogen now, usage and stuff like that somewhere. Will electric finally become the mainstream? Will AI tell us when to replace the machines? I mean, how dangerous is that, for example? Are we going to end up with a load of good equipment in the junkyard? So yeah, let's look at that, Mark. What do you think? I know we've touched on this before, but I think now it's really we're covering now the new technology that's making some of this obsolete. The autonomous equipment that now, so people want to use some of that, even down to machine control, isn't it? Even down to basic machine control. People are taking that as standard. I remember when they were trying to get that out into the industry, they used it. Some of the operators were very anti it because they felt it was degrading what they did. But when they realised it was actually a tool to use, a lot of the clever ones bought into it. But now they don't want to touch a machine without machine control, do they?
No, the other, because I think it's interesting because one, it's assistance, isn't it? Two, it's speed and efficiency. So, and thirdly, right, the data is saved. So if your task was to excavate 2 meters down, not only can the GPS help you do that, but it helps you do it a far greater way. Someone was explaining to me, the Welsh Cockney Mike was explaining to me that if you overdig, if you accidentally go 2.1 or 2.2, you've then got the task of backfilling.
Yeah.
So if someone says to you, dig 2 meters down, use the GPS, you can actually just dig 2 meters down. Not only that, the data behind it can tell you how much soil you've removed, how much fuel you burnt doing it, how much time it took you. And the other thing is, and this is really important from the client's perspective, is that you've actually got a data log that the operator dug 2 meters down, that width, that depth, blah, blah, blah. So if you got to the stage where you had to sit down with a client and prove that you've done each task, you can prove you dug that much, you can prove you carted that much soil, and you can prove you compacted it to that compaction rate.
Well, that's the big thing for compaction, isn't it? You can now sign off your job based on that. That you can see that someone's done a car park with a GPS. You can see if they've compacted everything at the standard, or he's just whizzed round, and he's got parts of it where he hasn't compacted it to the compliant thing. But yeah, look, let's close up on what we're talking about. Is interesting, but I thought I'd do a quick fire round on you this week, Mark. Let's have some people listening, so it'd be easier to understand what we're actually talking about. Let's have some quick one word answers or some possible, one sentence answers to cover what we've just said.
Yeah. Okay.
What's the biggest risk that we think?
Redundant equipment because of new technology coming in.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see that a lot more moving forward. It'd be interesting, as I said, we'll keep an eye on the next few years to see whatever, and we'll come back to this episode. It's interesting, Mark, the way we've been talking about certain subjects recently to do with AI changing, with kids coming into the industry and lack of opportunity. so many people have jumped on that subject since we spoke about it months ago. I've seen so many podcasts talking about that now. We've talked about the electric and the hydrogen and diesel. So many people and other similar podcasts have jumped onto the back of that. So we're obviously talking about some real innovation. We're covering it first. What's the biggest opportunity then, do you think?
I think AI integrating into the machines. I'm not talking about AI as in ChatGPT and things like that. I'm talking about we've now seen AI come into human form recognition camera systems. Now I think we're going to see AI coming into Mike James's stuff. Yeah, I think we're going to see AI rather than just having a product and saying this is safe because it does this or this is safe because it does that. I think we'll see AI assistance on those products, and I think we're probably at the we're probably only at the beginning of what GPS can do for us. Now AI stuff coming in.
Yeah, well, I think that's what you've seen. That's where the autonomous stuff's going to come in. Now that you know that you don't have to dig over that 2 meters, you can go to the millimeter. The machine will stop you from doing that. All you need is an automation to take the driver out of it, and it'll probably dig, load, and more efficiently and quicker. Well, let's say quicker, but more efficiently than an operator and a driver. They're already doing that test. They've been doing that in Volvo for many years, where they've set up a quarry scenario and every piece of equipment on there is autonomous. So if you've got a virgin site and you're knocking it down and then you're scraping and digging, and it's not like a refurbished site, perhaps where you're doing some drainage or whatever. Sorry about that. I've got obviously it's like 90 degrees, so I've got the windows open.
It sounds like you're recording at Brands Hatch.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I wish I was. But yeah, so we're gonna. I think we're going to see the biggest changes ever in the next 5 years. It's going to be very interesting. So, what's the biggest opportunity then?
I think the biggest opportunity. I think the biggest opportunity is going to be to do with the software and design side, because I think I know we've talked about AI and the automated plant, but actually look from the plans, from a plans and a drawings perspective. I think we're going to see AI turn these into site plans that then can go on for automated vehicles or other things. Yeah. So I think software is the big thing at the moment. I think in construction, I think we're going to see a software boom.
So would you buy diesel today?
I would, yeah, simply because one, it's a cheaper machine. Two, we still need it. At the end of the day, if you need a 20-ton dump truck, you still need diesel. The jobs that we're working on today and tomorrow are all designed and costed using diesel. So yes, I would for the moment, yes.
And do you think hydrogen will arrive?
Yeah, I do. I think hydrogen will arrive, yeah, because I think electric's coming in, and it's coming in a big way. We've seen the Sany 20-tonner. I think there's that issue, isn't there, with electric that we spoke about earlier, the battery packs, how much are they worth? Do they need replacing? I think hydrogen will arrive. I think it will arrive in the form that JCB have done it, as in burnt in a cylinder, not the I don't think it's heavy enough on the I can't remember what they call it now, the other technology where the gas passes through the panel and it creates an electric current. Not that side. I think for heavy plant, hydrogen will arrive as.
But do you think it's only JCB that have got that innovation going, really? The others obviously haven't, and they've not got the manufacturing partners all their own to make hydrogen engines. It could be the best technology ever. But so was somebody invented the car that could drive on water, couldn't they? So, why did that never take off? Because the big powerhouses didn't have that technology. So, do you feel that maybe if the Chinese are the biggest ones, and some of the big Americans, they haven't got that technology, they don't want to invest in it, the electric might saturate the UK market? I think you might have a chance.
If you look at Europe, Holland, Netherlands, they are big users of hydrogen, believe it or not, real big users of hydrogen. In fact, our friends at the is it Doors, the power guys. They're big users of hydrogen and electric over there. It really is. I know some people have gone there, and they've said you've got to see these electric buses, these electric trains, hydrogen this, electric that. It will arrive. And I read recently, I think JCB have got the patent on it now, and they'll sell their technology. They'll sell the engine to other manufacturers, and probably, I don't know how it works. They'll probably get a percentage of each engine built, won't they?
Yeah, kickback. Yeah. So thinking about this then, what do we think, both of us, what do you reckon now that when we've looked at all these technology changes and what's going to happen in what we believe that might happen in the industry, do you think that the trend will still be on rental, or do you think it will go to, back to that old debate that we had before, should you own or rent it? Now if I'm going to keep my machine and it's acceptable to keep an electric machine, even a hydrogen machine, for longer than the 5 years, would it be more beneficial for me to buy it than rent it? I know it's hard for you to answer that because you're in rental still.
But I still maintain that with the cycles that we spoke about earlier, the technology cycles changing, I still think it's better to rent. The same reason you'd be better to rent. If you've got an electric car, the best thing you could do is just rent it for 3 years, change over, get another one, right? Because you ain't got the problem of battery packs. And the reality is, if you bought an electric car, right? Funny enough, I've had a Tesla, as you know, for 4 years.
That's a good argument. It's a good argument. Yeah, go on.
I've had a Tesla for 4 years, right? My mate rings me up and he says, "Oh, I've got the AMG IM6." I didn't know what that was till I went and saw it, right? But do you know what blew me away, right? So imagine I'd bought the Tesla, right? His car has got the ability to charge in 15 minutes, right? I haven't got that.
But this is the problem, isn't it? This is what we're talking about. The technology falls apart within 20 minutes now. Someone else has come up with something else.
Yeah, and that's why I think rental. I think for the next 5 years, looking forward, I think the construction industry rental market is going to have a real good time, because I think if you're not in that game, you need to. If you're not in rental and you're a contractor, you need to rent the equipment, because you're going to get the top of the line, new tech, compliant tech going forward. If you buy it, right? Like my mate with the generators, he's got all these stage 4 generators he can't do nothing with, because everyone wants stage 5 now. So when we buy a machine today, we buy them fully loaded and then they go out to rent. If you are a client and you buy them, you're stuck with that, even if new stuff comes out. And that's the problem.
So we're going back to the old Rumbelows TV rental, for those old enough to remember that.
I remember
where you always rented your TV, put your 50p's in the socket, because you knew that the latest one would be out in 6 months, and you could just give it back and take another one, couldn't you?
That's it. Yeah, exactly that.
So, look, today's discussion shows something fascinating, in my opinion. Construction equipment isn't just iron anymore. It's software, data, it's connectivity, it's compliance, I suppose. The companies that understand when assets become technologically obsolete, not just mechanically worn out, will make better buying decisions. That's what you just said, basically. Stronger rental returns, and ultimately build more resilience in business. So, because in today's industry, I suppose, when we talk about it, the oldest machine isn't necessarily the one with the most hours. It's often the one with the oldest technology. So, thanks for joining us this week, and don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and we'll see you in the next episode.
See you on the next one.
Lovely.
The opinions expressed within this podcast are solely the individuals and do not reflect the opinions and beliefs of the sponsors or its affiliates.